What are we doing with struggling stars like Mookie Betts, Jackson Merrill, and Ozzie Albies? And do we believe in the streak that Christopher Sanchez has been on and Max Muncy as well? We've got those names and more on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino, here as always with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Ahne. As you can see if you're watching on YouTube, and if you are watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It's going to subscribe you to the channel and give you notification every time we drop a new episode. Or if you're listening on the audio side of things, make sure you're subscribed. And also, if you could, please leave us a 5-star rating and review. It helps us really grow the podcast and, helps us go a long way. And lastly, but what's most important, guys, give us a chance on the Insider Track. Through the Insider Track, we're going to offer so much more than we can in these 30-minute episodes, including instant prospect call-up notifications. And when we do our waiver wire ranking episodes, you're going to get those guys ranked and prioritized, and just some extra stats that we think you guys should know about from players in the episode. And this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first. And what time it is, guys, and if you're new around here, it's time for trade for and away, buy low, sell high, whatever you guys want to call it, but that's what we're doing around here today. And listen, bunch of all-stars underperforming, some dudes way overperforming that probably aren't going to stay healthy the rest of the year. But Matt, up first, super interesting name here. I think so myself. But Matt, your thoughts here on Mr. Mookie Betts?
So the thing about Mookie is he really is having a career low season. It's actually quite putrid. I mean, even over the last month, hitting 9 runs, a bomb, 10 ribs, and a stolen base, and batting .240 on the month is super uncharacteristic, especially when he has a very underwhelming half a season stats. 305 at bats, 51 runs, nine home runs, 41 ribs, 6 stolen bases, batting .249. Quite honestly, it's not even on pace for what he did last year. Home run numbers are definitely down. Ribbies and such are on pace because he plays for the Dodgers, but stolen bases are definitely down. And the fact that the batting average is such in the toilet for Mookie makes it unattractive to have him on your team. Now, for me personally, the fact that this dude has such a ceiling and has done it for so many years makes me want to buy in. This is like not even buying the dip. This is like, okay, remember Bitcoin for the last 2 years where it dropped all the way down from 60K all the way down to 18. That's what this is right now. This is that long-term burn. And if we get a bull market on Mookie, which really just means, hey, he's going to, essentially bounce back in the second half, which, we've seen a lot of players just have a stronger second half than first half, depending on what they've done. They make the adjustments in off season. I'm willing to pay for it, but I'm not willing to pay a lot. So I'm trying to buy. And this is that time of the year where, you got probably a few guys overperforming, and Mookie Betts is probably on a team that's struggling to even make the playoffs. So it's the perfect time to look at that team and pair up a bunch of guys that are not going to perform long-term, that are overperforming right now, that fill holes for that team, right? And then say, here you go. Let me take Mookie off your hands. So I'm not accepting this if I'm fighting for a playoff team. I'm not trying to do this if I'm a playoff team trying to buy Mookie Betts. This is I'm in, locking in 1 through 4. And then I'm going to try and make this move because Mookie paying for these assets, if he has a second half, that pretty much guarantees me a championship. So I'm trying to go out there and get him, but this does come with the other side of the coin where there is risk. If he decides to just keep on this bad pace because there's nothing that says, hey, there's some upside, like XWOB is down, X slug is down, exit velocity is way down. It's at 88.4 miles an hour. Whereas if you look at 23, it was at 89. And then you go back, 23, and then you look at 23, and then 92.5 miles per hour. Everything was just so much different back then. It's just there's just not much going on except for the plate discipline. So there's hope, but at the same time, this is a big risk. That's why I'm not willing to pay much. You will not see me give away any kind of stud in order to get Mookie Betts. At that point, I'm just going to walk away. So it is what it is, but I am trading for Mookie if I can.
Yeah, Matt, good breakdown there on Mookie. Kind of in the same boat as you. I have a couple. I'm in a league where the Mookie Betts owner has been trying to trade me Mookie Betts pretty much all year. I mean, his asking price is out of control. He's asking for Jose Ramirez. You don't make a move like that. But if you could pay 50, 60 cents on the dollar for Mookie Betts, I'm in on that. I'm not going to go too crazy for a guy like that who's 32, getting a little bit older. But like Matt mentioned, the counting stats are still pretty good. The 51 runs and 41 RBIs in 78 games is not bad at all. Power numbers are down. Some of the underlying stuff is interesting, because some of the power stuff looks good, some of it doesn't. If you're playing a points league, definitely try and acquire Mookie Betts because they know he's very, very good still with the walk to strikeout ratio 1-to-1 on the year. And Mookie Betts a career 292 guy, and that's over almost 1,500 games. So that number's sticky. I think the batting average climbs up anyway. So once again, if you could pay 50, 60 cents on the dollar for a guy like Betts who has second, short, and outfield eligibility on Yahoo, I'm going to do that in a heartbeat. But Matt, you did a great breakdown, so I'm going to move on to this next guy. Let's talk about somebody who's not as reliable or has been doing it as long as Mookie Betts. Let's talk some Jackson Merrill. Jackson Merrill, a tough start to the year with injury. On the season, it's a 201 at bat, 27 runs, 5 homers, a steal, 289 batting average. So, Merrill's just kind of trying to find his footing here. Like I said, been a bit underwhelming so far to start off of. But there's a world where this kid just, gets that groove, catches fire, and then he's like a top 50 overall player the rest of the season. I think that's definitely within the cards for Jackson Merrill. Had a stellar rookie season last year, really showed out. I really think this kid's going to turn it around. The Padres still believe in him. He's still hitting third in that lineup. And he had another little stretch where he was hurt recently from June 15th to June 21st. So, he's only a little over a week back trying to find his footing again. And he was doing okay before that injury. He was on a nice little 5-game hit streak. He was starting to find his groove there. And I think a guy like Jackson Merrill, if you can go out there and pay 80 cents on the dollar, I'm doing that. In a keeper or dynasty format, Jackson Merrill owner is a little bit frustrated. I'm going out there and seeing what I can get done because Jackson Merrill is just the type of talent that, high-end prospects, got powers, got speed, can still hitting for batting average, still hitting 289 through the 52 games on the year. So that's in the cards. But I guarantee you, especially in a redraft league, the Jackson Merrill's owner is frustrated. They probably had to pay too much for him this year, to his underperformance and injury so far. You can go out there and get him for pretty cheap. And I think a stud like Jackson Merrill, you could, like I said, I'm going to say it again, especially if you could find a way to acquire him in a keeper or a dynasty format, that you're gonna walk away laughing because a kid like Jackson Merrill was a top 10 prospect, was a big boy. The kid's just got everything going for him, and I think he's going to turn it around a lot sooner than later.
So you make fair points, Tom. I mean, obviously, you can try and acquire him in Dynasty. I would, but I don't think he's going to be a cheap price. In all honesty, you look at just, him as a whole and him having the excuse me, the rookie season that he did just makes it, near impossible for the dynasty owner to give up on him. But in a redraft league, this is where I'm really targeting him because, there's no long-term, what do you call it? Spit it out, man. There's no long-term attachments to it, right? It's just this season and out. It's like a one-night stand. So with Jackson Merrill, I mean, yes, it's super underperforming, but the underlying stat does scream like, hey, there is a bounce back stuff. So I'm definitely trying to go out there and acquire him in those regards. Jackson Merrill could pose to have a good second half of the season. The batting average is still on point. It's just the other stuff just isn't coming together, which, hey, all you need is a good hot month to get you back on track. And you know what? I think it's coming. I don't think we're going to see a full sophomore slump from Jackson Merrill, so it's definitely the buying time. He's definitely more like 50 cents on the dollar versus a whole dollar 25 you'd normally have to pay to acquire him right now. Coming up next, we got guys like Yordan Alvarez. Are we trying to trade for, or are we just completely fed up with him between his poor performance to before the injury, or are we trying to acquire him? You'll find out that and more coming up next.
All right, guys, get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're into plumbing, HVAC, or Electrical Works Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with the complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 top brands, you'll find exactly what you need, delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for those trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled trade professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and direct electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use the promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. And once again, that's supplyhouse.com. And all right, guys, I know this time of year is tough in your fantasy baseball leagues, right? You know, you might be sitting there fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, just fighting for your lives, trying to make the playoffs. Or hey, listen, even if you're in first or last, Matt and I, we got you covered for the rest of the fantasy baseball season. Join us on the Insiders Track, where you're going to get those instant prospect call-up notifications. So when the best players, the young players in the games get called up to the bigs, you're going to know them before the rest of your league and be able to pick them up. And then we do our waiver wire episodes. We're going to rank those guys for you, prioritize them, and tell you how you should be picking them up. And we offer, just so much more we can in these 30-minute episodes because, listen, it's only 30 minutes. We can only do so much here. So once again, give us a chance on the Insiders Track. Guys, it's available on any of our social media platforms, the link that is, and it's available in our bio wherever you're listening or watching. And all right, Matt, that is a lot of talking for me. And as much as I love this next guy, if you got him ready, I'm going to pass him over to you.
I do. And that's Yordan Alvarez of the Houston Astros for me, the trash bangers. Playing outfield for them now. I'm going to be serious now. Great fantasy baseball asset. Honestly, he was one of my favorite targets this year. Unfortunately, went down to the hand injury and just hasn't been able to make it back. Has been out for quite some time and is due back possibly next week. He's expected to return on the 7th, which would be great, but who knows? The hand injury is something that has definitely happened in the past. So who's to say how long he's going to be back, when he's going to be back? But I'm definitely willing to try and acquire him now. With the news looming, somebody might be a little hesitant to go out and trade them, but they're probably in a really bad spot. So if you can fill some holes, you're going to have to pay some prices to get him. But the upside is definitely going to go through. The dude is is a first round pick talent or top end second round talent that is definitely worth every single penny. So even if I can get him at 75 cents on the dollar, I'm a happy camper. So I'm going to try and trade guys. There might be later in the show, like a Muncy and things like that, because like third base has been so fugly this year. It's not even funny that you might be able to catch them if they had bad luck with their outfield and Yordan Alvarez. Maybe they don't have a third baseman either. Might be somebody that you might be able to move to go and acquire Yordan Alvarez or finding and fixing the needs. Honestly, it's just all about custom tailoring that trade to the team. But I think Yordan Alvarez is definitely worth an acquisition.
Matt, well said. I'm going to read off Yordan Alvarez's average season if you combine the last 4 years, right? So if you combine the last 4 years for Yordan, it averages out to 135 games played per year, 88 runs, 31 doubles, 34 home runs, 96 RBIs with a 296 batting average. That's a number one outfielder if I've ever seen one before. So the guy's done it consistently the last 4 years. Does have injury histories, we know, with the knees and, the hand that's going on this year. But before Yordan comes back and there's talk of him looking like a beast, whatever, he's ready to go, make that trade now. That's like as you're listening, go find the Yordan owner in your league and go out there and get him. Because if Yordan could just be himself in the second half, have that 30 home run pace, that strong batting average, the runs and RBIs might not be as strong with this Astros team. I know Pena just went down and they haven't been, as good if they've been in the past. Christian Walker acquisition didn't really work out for them. So, counting stats might not be great, but if you can get a guy that's on a 30 homer pace hitting 280, with decent counting stats, for 70 cents on the dollar, 60 cents on the dollar, because like Matt said, the owner's probably frustrated right now. I'm doing that all day long. But let's move on to this next guy. Let's talk some Ozzie Albies. And listen, he's been on the show at least once already this season. He makes his return to the show, and he's having a bad year. 223 for Albies on the season, 83 games played, 36 runs, 6 homers, 28 RBI, 7 steals. But once again, it's almost like that Yordan situation. We know who Ozzie Albies is. He's been arguably the best second baseman in the game in fantasy the last 3-4 years. He can hit for power, steals a few bags here and there. The batting average for me with Albies has always been kind of questionable, but he is a 266 career hitter, and that's over 954 games and 3,800 at bats. So I'd expect at least a 260 batting average from Ozzie the rest of the way. I think he's going to be able to chip in some power. The speed, he's already up to 7 steals. He only had 8 last year, and that was through 99 games played. So Ozzie Albies for me is definitely somebody I want to buy into. Second base has just been really, really tough this year. So if you can go out there and get Ozzie Albies on the cheap, maybe the Ozzie Albies owner, went in a different direction. Maybe they snagged somebody off the waiver wire, or maybe they even drafted somebody late that wound up working out. I'm going to go out there and try and snag Ozzie Albies. I'm not going to go crazy for him, but if once again he's not a guy, if I can get 50, 60 cents, I'm going to do that all day long because I know who Ozzie Albies is. He's got power. We're on a good team for counting stats. And, listen, Acuna's back now, too. So that lineup's even better than it's ever been in the last couple of years. So Ozzie Albies definitely somebody I'm looking to acquire.
Yeah, no, I love me some Ozzie Albies. If you're not new to the show, you'll know that I wholeheartedly am probably the head of the Ozzie Albies fan club. I love that dude. Him having a down season, this is disappointing. The fact that he's batting 223 on the season is just not great. Power numbers are down, stolen bases are down, everything is down about Ozzie Albies' game. It makes me very sad, but I will say this. Albies, I don't think is down for the count. In all honesty, you know, I think that there is a place where he just bounces back. The guy's been doing it for too long, so it's worth the shot. I mean, look, you could be dealing with like Marcus Simeon's unstable play on a guy that's already been on a downward turn, or you can deal with a guy that's literally 28 years old that's had a pretty successful career so far at his age. Him having a down season and expecting it to be a full season is more unlikely than getting hit by lightning at this point. So I'm willing to buy in because the fact that there is just that track record and the price is definitely right. So buying on Ozzie Albies, well said, Dom. But I'm going to move on. It's about Mr. Blake Snell, the Los Angeles Dodgers starting pitcher. So Blake Snell is dealing with the shoulder injury, expected back at some time by the end of this month. The question is how many rehab starts? When is this going to happen? How long is this going to be? But you know, right now it's just like, okay, I need to see kind of what the rehab plan is, which makes him obtainable. If I'm sitting in first, second, third, fourth place and I'm chilling at this point, I'm going to try and acquire him and boost up my rotation for playoffs. That's what I'm focusing on right now. I'm no longer thinking about the season. I'm thinking about, okay, how do I win a championship? Blake Snell is the key to your championship. He's clogging up somebody's IL, not doing anything for the team. They've already been on their IL for 4 months because he got injured back on April 2nd. Why wouldn't I try and take him off their hands and free up a spot and give them a pitcher that is going to perform for them? Now, the perfect trade, I think, that at least a guy that would throw in for the trade, it wouldn't be a straight up deal. Start thinking about moving Casey Mize for him. I'm a big Casey Mize guy. I think he's actually performing. I think it's a fair place. A guy you got off the waiver wire that literally was free 99 to get a guy that's going to come back at the end of this month or possibly beginning of August and be 50 times better than him and possibility of doing it for the rest of the season. So that's kind of a guy I'm going to throw in the trade and then probably mix one of these guys that's later in the episode to go out and try to acquire Blake Snell.
And before I give my little Blake Snell rant, and then we get into guys that you need to sell on while you still can, like Christopher Sanchez, Matthew Boyd, those names and more coming up next.
All right. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? It's me every weekend. Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. It truly is. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You track all of your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So you're not just managing your money, you start building wealth. When I first started using Monarch Money, it just showed me how irresponsible I am and how much food delivery I actually have to my house. I mean, it hasn't changed. I'm just aware of the problem. But the part that I truly like is the managing the money with my wife, right? Hey, babe, you can't order that off Amazon. No, we cannot afford a margarita machine this time. I understand. I like margaritas too. We can't afford it. So just look at Monarch Money. You bought too much last month. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code Locked On MLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com and use the code Locked On MLB for half off your first year. And all right, Dom, how do you feel? You agree with me? You want to buy in? You want to sell? How do you feel?
Listen, guys, if you're a fan of the podcast, you probably already know how I feel about Blake Snell. If you're not and you're just tuning in, guys, we've been doing this for a long time with Blake Snell. He's been in the league a long time. We know he's a second half guy. He's been doing it since he started. So I'm just going to do this quick splits breakdown and then we'll move on. Blake Snell, career, first half, 3.95 ERA over 108 starts, 555 innings, 665 strikeouts, a 1.35 whip. Blake Snell, career second half, 94 starts, 2.32 ERA, 500 innings, 644 strikeouts, a 108 whip. If that doesn't tell you enough what you need to know about Blake Snell, he's usually a top 10 pitcher in the second half. I'm going out there acquiring him where I can, and I honestly think the price on Blake Snell is super, super cheap right now. But let's keep it moving. Let's get into the guys that we are selling on. This one's tricky. Matt, I don't even know if you're going to agree on this one. It's Christopher Sanchez of the Philadelphia Phillies. Yeah, Matt's out there and probably might have a little more information on Christopher Sanchez than I do. He's out there in Philly. But listen, the thing with Christopher Sanchez is I know he's a good pitcher. I don't think he's a great pitcher. And he, by all means, has been a great pitcher this year so far. Christopher Sanchez on the season, 16 starts, a 2.79 ERA, 93 innings pitched, 103 strikeouts, and a 1.16 whip. At this point in Sanchez's career, I believe that he can suppress the runs. A low to mid threes ERA is, reasonable. It's expectable. But I'm not buying in the whip, man. I don't think the control is super good. I think the 1.16 whip gets a lot closer to his career 1.21 or the 1.24 from last year. The underlying stuff looks great. But as I actually dive into his pitches, he's only a 3-pitch guy. He leads with a sinker 48% of the time, but the sinker gets hit at a 308 clip. It got hit at a 345 clip last year. At least he was trying to mix in a cutter a little bit last year, but, same 3 pitches as last year. And listen, like I said, I think Sanchez is going to be good, but if you can go out there and move Christopher Sanchez for a legit top 25 pitcher, top 30 starting pitcher, I would go out there and do that in a heartbeat. I just don't think he's going to have as monstrous of a second half as he does in the first half. If he pitches to a 3.5 ERA and a 1.25 whip the rest of the way with around a K per 9, I think that's more reasonable. He's never really been a huge strikeout guy. Even last year, 181 innings, 153 strikeouts, and he's well over that K per 9 this year. I do think Christopher Sanchez is a good starting pitcher. I just think if you can go out there and get somebody that's better, that we know that's been doing it for a while, if you can go out there and get Blake Snell for Christopher Sanchez, I'm doing that. And that's basically where I'll leave it. I think that kind of lets you guys know where my head is at with Christopher Sanchez.
I mean, so here's the deal. I think that the K per inning is definitely something that he's worked on, and we saw the ability to do it towards the second half of the season. So I think he's taken a full step forward. That's right where I stand on him. I think the strikeout numbers are actually legitimate. The whip, I agree with. I think that is going to go up. That's probably going to be a 1.25. And you know what? I'm okay with it if I'm getting the K per inning and well over a K per inning at this point. On top of that, I think the ERA being sub 3 is, yes, unrealistic, but it's high enough where at the same time where, okay, 2 more bad games and it's a 3.20 ERA, and that's kind of more realistic. And if he finishes with, an ERA of a 3.20, a whip of 1.21, and pitches 150 innings with 180 strikeouts, which I think he's going to go for more innings since he did 181 last year. If he hits 200 strikeouts, that's a phenomenal season for him. That reminds me of literally Zach Gallen from 2023 and that big season that said, hey, like this guy could be a top 15 pitcher. Now, am I saying Chris Sanchez is going to be a top 15 pitcher? Probably not, but top 25, I think, is kind of where I'm already kind of slotting him in for 2026. So the pace is real. Everything about it is good. And quite honestly, Dom, even though there's a batting average of, what do you call it? 308 on his sinker. And yes, he leans on it nearly 50% of the time. It's the way he mixes his pitches. The other two secondary pitches that he throws 36 and 16% of the time are getting hit at 136 batting average and a 203 batting average, which when he mixes his pitches right, which he has been, and he's been dealing like a beast, tells you that like, yo, there is that ability to keep this going. Like I said, low threes ERA is definitely a world where I am. I'm holding on to him wholeheartedly. If anything, I'm trying to trade for him at this point and hoping that I meet an owner like you that doesn't have that high expectation of him. So, yes, but let me move on as I digress. Let's talk about Matthew Boyd, another starting pitcher here. I am not really a fan. Him and the Cubs, Cubs are great, but I'm going to tell you what, Matthew Boyd has not had a season like this ever. Okay. Hey, you look at 24, he pitched 39 innings. I'm sorry. That does not say he's going to pitch at a 272 batting ERA. You look at 2022, that's more realistic. You look at 21, yeah, that's more realistic. You look at 2020, yeah, it's more realistic. His whole entire career, it's not like we have a small sample size. 10 years of pitching, and this is a career year. What does that tell you? He's doing something right, and he made some changes, but it's not enough for me to buy in. I'm sorry, it's not. Look, his breaking balls and his off-speed pitches are completely flat. His fastball it has insane movement, but it's not like it's a dominating fast fastball. It's 93 miles an hour. On top of that, it's not like he's getting guys to whiffs. Yes, he's getting them to chase, but he's not creating whiffs. He's not really striking out guys over a K per nine. He's not producing ground balls. And even though he's suppressing hard contact, it's not enough because guys are still barreling on him almost at almost 8%, which is bad. On top of that, you look at his pitches and his four-seam fastball, which he leans on 46% of the time, has a batting average of 265. His changeup is absolutely filthy, but the rest of the pitches are not something that I'm like really impressed with. And even his sinker that is having success and he throws the least amount has an expected batting average of 355. I look at it and I go, this is something that's going to change quickly. Second half is going to come. People are going to look at tape now that they're off, and they're going to like, okay, cool. We hate the Cubs this year. We don't want them to win a World Series. And Matthew Boyd is our target and the way to light up that team. So they're going to make an adjustment, and they're going to beat the living hell out of this guy. Matthew Boyd, sell high.
Matt, great take there on Boyd. Honestly, I'm not even going to add anything because he did such a great job. I'm just going to move on to this next guy. Let's talk about Jose Berrios, man. Listen, he's just probably the most inconsistent pitcher in baseball. He'll give you a good month, bad month, good month, bad month. The good month just happened. We're just getting out of the good month. Out of his last 6 starts, only one bad one. So I think we're going to head into that stretch where, we're going to see bad Jose Berrios. On the season, 3.26 ERA, 1.21 WHIP, 102 innings, 89 strikeouts. The last 2 years, he's been a 3.6 ERA guy, under a K per nine, with a mediocre whip, with an serviceable whip. I just think with the name value of Jose Berrios, and while you still can, while he's been on this hot streak, get him off your team. All the underlying stuff looks bad. The underlying stuff for ERA says he should be closer to a 5 ERA than a 3 or almost a sub 3. Batting average, batters should be hitting around 260 against him. The velocity's down on his fastball. The breaking stuff is moving okay, but very mixed results on all of his pitches. I'm just out on Jose Berrios at this point in his career. I would trade him for what I can get before that bad streak starts, and hopefully, it doesn't happen in the playoffs if you do decide to hold.
Well said. I'm going to move on just for time and the fact that I agree with you. We're going to be talking about third baseman for the Los Angeles Dodgers, Max Muncy. Max Muncy has been having an incredible season since coming back. 251 at bats, 38 runs, 10 doubles, 2 triples, 13 bombs, 55 ribs, 4 stolen bases, batting a lovely 255. So here's the deal. I love Max Muncy. I truly do. I think he's going to finish out the season at pretty good. But the thing is, I could probably buy a higher upside player, and that's really where I'm at. How do I capitalize on these players and either fill holes or get a higher end guy that's going to have a higher ceiling than Max Muncy? Because we know what Max Muncy is eventually going to do. He's a career 230 hitter. The batting average is going to drop. There's going to be a very cold month or two, and you're going to pray that it's not in September. We're only really about 2.5 months away from playoffs. So Max Muncy is a guy I'm going to move, especially with the third base market. He was a guy got a pretty much for free 99, so I'm going to be targeting to move him. Look, a guy that I'm actively trying to trade for as well is Royce Lewis. Royce Lewis, find the team that has him, send Max Muncy for Royce Lewis and a stud or a guy that you're wanting to buy low on that team. I think that you get your third baseman back in return with higher upside, I might add, and with a little risk. And then you also go out and get your stud. So I'm trying to do that. You're not going to be able to get a 1-for-2 deal for Max Muncy, but you will be able to definitely decrease the price and get more assets with him being in that trade.
Yeah, Max Muncy has 17 RBIs in his last 6 games. That's not a real pace. That's a video game pace. And I also think Muncy gets hurt again soon as he's getting old. He can't stay on the field unless you desperately need power and RBIs. I'm going to try and get rid of Max Muncy for what I can before the other shoe falls off. But guys, that is all for today. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. And shout out to our everydayers and new listeners making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. So guys, until next time.
Peace.